Hello there and welcome back to the second episode of the series where we're tackling the topic of implementing ERP systems globally. And here we're breaking down the main challenges and we're sharing the key strategies to make managing implementations across different countries with all cultural, legal, and technical differences work. If you haven't seen the first episode of the series, I highly recommend checking that out. And if you have, let's jump right into the next part. Welcome to MacDrive, the podcast where I want you to get as much value as possible. Through my years of working within the IT world and enterprise resource planning systems, I noticed that this area seemed to be unknown and overwhelming for most people. I was fortunate to meet great mentors who taught me how to grow a satisfying career in this field. Also, I was able to build it with no degree in it. I graduated as a social worker, and I truly believe anybody can learn what an ERP is and grow that knowledge to the point of getting a fun and well-paid job. So, dial in if you want to get more understanding of what these systems bring in the business world, or you'd like to get more information on what possibilities and value this particular area of IT can bring to you. Alright, so last time we spoke about cultural differences, regulatory compliance, language barriers, and time zone. And I also shared the ways how to mitigate those issues and how to approach every single risk that's coming up with all these 4 points. So now, let's talk about point number 5, which is data integration and consistency. And as every single implementation of whichever software were you doing, the integration and migration of the data, taking it from different systems, maintaining consistency is complex by itself. But when you add to that a grain of various locations, then the things might get even more challenging to manage. And again, coming back from the best practices that I was happy to witness was establishing a centralized data governance policy, also using data integration tool and ensuring consistent data entry standards across all locations. What does that mean in practice? In practice, that means that the whole data policy was managed centrally. However, the central data management teams were working really close with local IT from each and every single country. Same case for integrations. There were standards given from the top technological management of the company, and these standards had to be followed, period. Doesn't matter if we're talking about Germany, Croatia, Norway, or South Africa. It's a long process to set up these standards, and it's even more hassle to make sure that these standards are followed. But the data integration and migration can be one of the main pitfalls which are lurking in the shadows and tends to jump out of nowhere just before the go live. And the companies that were prepared and had those standards implemented beforehand were well prepared. And of course, I don't want to say that the go live was a piece of cake, but definitely that risk was immensely or significantly lowered. Okay, point number 6 is infrastructure variabilities, because different countries may have varying levels of technological infrastructure which can impact implementation and performance of the ERP system. And it might be simple as it sounds, but not every single location has the access to the internet, right? And for so long, we're bragging about these great cloud solutions, and well, you got to have an access to the internet, at least at given time fences, right? So that's the point when I saw a really good and experienced technical teams and technical leaders who are assessing the infrastructure capabilities of each location and country and adapting the ERP system accordingly. And again, that's actually the point where cloud-based solutions can help a lot, because thanks to that, you can get the uniformity and easier maintenance, right? But of course, I'm not talking only about software, but the hardware communication is crucial as well, because maybe you have an ERP application running in the cloud, but the physical stuff like barcode scanners or QR code scanners, now all the machines on production floor, quality management instruments, etc. might need to be communicated with your system. And having that technological infrastructure blueprint can save hell of a lot of dollars and just keep the project team prepared. Another interesting problem that international ERP implementations may face is something called change management. And I know a lot of books have been written and a lot of courses have been created regarding the change management topic. And everybody knows that resistance to change is a common issue, especially when employees are accustomed to existing process. And actually, you don't need to have a big multi-country rollout to face that resistance, right? However, it gets even more complex when you add to that the dynamic between the local and global team or regional team. And again, implementing a strong change management strategy is a must, providing adequate training and involving employees at all levels in the implementation process, because it's not only taking people to work on the project, but also making sure that every single person down the chain of command knows what they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing. And frankly, that's not that obvious when project kicks off. And there's so much to do on the business process and technological level that the change management is kind of left off. But on the flip side, when the local team is not willing to work with the global team and there's this huge change resistance, then every single workshop, every training, every analysis may become a nightmare, since maybe there's a way to implement a new system, but there's no will. And again, speaking from what I witnessed and saw, one company actually hired a change management manager or change management consultant. I don't remember the name of the role, but from the beginning of the project, this person actually started the kickoff session of it. I've never saw something like that before, and I can say it made an impact not only for the implementation team, but for the business most and foremost. And when we had a dinner, like a big one for the business and IT team, actually one manager told me that every single new software or technology that was implemented in this company was kind of a given by the technology brand, right? But nobody never told them why they're changing stuff that is working. And that was actually the first time when he kind of felt like a part of a project and he was keen on working on it, because of course it was new and exciting, and he understood why this thing is being done. So yeah, that was really cool example and good stuff to consider. Okay, the last point. Point number 8 is cost overruns, because international ERP projects often exceed budgets due to unforeseen complexities and requirements. Easier said than done. But of course, having a well-defined project scope and the budget can be a factor that saves the day. But whoever worked on any offer, sometimes it's just tough to say exactly what are the numbers of the project. So not only putting hours in creating the initial budget, but as well regularly reviewing and adjusting project plan as needed, and also keeping a reserve budget for unexpected expenses seems like a reasonable solution. And that's a little touch point with the point number 7 regarding reasonable solutions and change management, because that's kind of a case when the proper communication is crucial. Proper communication for the local team and the headquarters team. And here we're talking about the stakeholders, because it's not only a situation where you have the main global team telling what has to be done, but also you need to have a perspective from the local stakeholders, because most probably these guys will know if there's any ticking bomb project should probably prepare for. So these reviews shouldn't be only one party, it should be decision makers from every single level. Alright guys, wrapping up here with a little summary. We talked about 8 key issues of international scale enterprise resource planning system implementations, and we also spoke about ways to mitigate those issues. The point number 1 was cultural differences, and the mitigation was involving local teams in planning and implementation process, and providing cultural training to the implementation team to understand the local nuances better. Point number 2 was regulatory compliance, and mitigation was working closely with legal and compliance experts, leveraging third-party companies specialized in customizing ERP systems to meet varying requirements coming from the local law. Point number 3, language barriers and mitigation, ensuring the ERP system supports multiple languages, providing training and support materials in local languages, and, if needed, using translators or bilingual team members. Point number 4, time zone differences and mitigation, scheduling meetings and deadlines, considering all time zones, and creating the proper time zone management governance for the project and before it even starts. Point number 4, data integration and consistency, and for that the mitigation is establishing a centralized data governance policy. Point number 6, infrastructure variabilities and mitigation, accessing the infrastructure capabilities of each location before the project starts, and adapting the ERP system accordingly. Also considering cloud-based solutions and creating a software and hardware blueprint. Point number 7, change management. And mitigation, implementing a strong change management strategy, providing adequate training and involving employees at all levels in the implementation process, or even hiring a change management expert. Point number 8, cost overruns. Mitigation, having a well-defined project scope, budgets, regular review, and adjusting the project plan as needed, which includes involving the headquarters and local stakeholders. Alright guys, that's it for today. I'll see you in the next episode, and as always, thanks for joining. Stay consistent guys. Peace.